There's a storm out on the ocean, and it's moving, come on, this away. If your soul's not anchored in Jesus, you will surely drift away. There's a storm out on the ocean, and it's moving this away. If your soul's not.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's me, Jermaine, and today we continue on with Job. Yesterday I was discussing with my little brother's mother about the book of Job. And I think that with this book, with Job himself, that people often they find the issue that Job obviously was in a trial, right? And that Job overcame that trial, and then Job was immensely blessed after his suffering, after his test, and after his trial. But if you could empathize with Job, have you ever experienced or went through a particular trial that seemed to weigh you down? And that trial weighed you down for a long period of time. And one of the things you always hear when you see somebody that is really blessed, right? Richly blessed, not all people, but we're especially talking about people within our faith. People who are naturally blessed and with abundance of blessings often say, you don't know what I had to go through in order to get to this level of blessing in my life. There were certain things in that trial that really held me down so bad to the point that all I could see is darkness and no light. And that's the same thing in the text here today when because we're looking at Job, right? And I'm reading this book thoroughly. And I want to say I'm reading it thoroughly for the first time, although I have read the book on several other occasions. I'm reading it this time with greater insight and understanding as to what really is going on with this book. I astounded myself as I was flipping through the pages. There are a series of chapters. This is a long book. This is a very long book. I mean, we're talking about close to, if not, you got 42, looks like you have 42 chapters in the book of Job. But when you hear it preached from the pulpit, and when you hear people refer to Job, they do count his trial, but they make light of that trial as if, oh, this was something that was very easy or something that happened very fast. Because you think, oh, Job was put through a test, Job went through the test, and Job passed the test. While all that is true, it didn't happen in the speed that I just gave. So we have to appreciate, in order for us to appreciate the blessings of Job, and I know that some of you may be anxious to get there, as I too am anxious to get to the blessings of Job. But we must first understand the trial, the difficult trial, because many of the chapters that I'm dealing with, right? You know, we looked over chapter 1, we talked about chapter 2 and 3, 4, you know, where Job is is stripped of all of his possessions. He's stripped of his health. He is stripped of his servants, and the some of his kids have passed away. So Job is in a very difficult situation. And if you can recall your own, why am I dealing with this in such a great, with such great time in so many, different series? Is because we have to understand what Job went through, and Job's depression, Job's difficult trial, in order that we may understand our very own trial. Because if you look at your own trial, if we step back and analyze some of the most difficult things we had to go through in our life, the time period was not short. Now there may have been some instances where there was a short trial, but in many cases the trial is long. It is long. And the longer that it becomes, the more questions that are raised, the more depression starts to set in. Job, during this particular time period, as we're leading up to chapter 11, Job is asking for death. Job's life is so bad, dealing with all of the circumstances and situations. I mean, his kids, some of his kids have died. The servants have died, stripped of his land, his financial wealth, as a result of the oxen. This is an agricultural type of society. He was wealthy in that. And then his health. He pleads to God for death. He says, curse the day that I was born. And then he questions God. When we're in trials and difficulties of life, and you're going through your own type of darkness, you question God. What is it that I did wrong? Why am I going through this? If I did something wrong, could you not forgive me? The very person that comes to you daily with thanksgiving and alms, helping and serving those who are in need. Could you not forgive even me, God? See, but what Job didn't realize, like many of us don't realize, is that this had nothing to do with Job's wrongdoing. And you will find that many people, as reflected in these chapters, his friends came to him and said, some of them came to him and said, Job, you ought to repent. Repent to God. Could you imagine going through a difficult time in your life and one of your friends comes up to you and says, you should repent? And you think in your mind, well, oh my goodness, they don't even know. They don't even know me. I thought that they knew me, but they don't know me. They don't know my relationship with the Lord. Yet they're asking me to repent. Could you not find some better words of encouragement? Encourage me, lift me up, but don't prejudge my situation and say that I should repent. Because Job did nothing wrong. Ladies and gentlemen, he did nothing wrong. He was innocent. The reason why God referenced his name is because of his steadfastness, of his innocence, of his worship, his praise, his intercession on behalf of himself and on behalf of his family. You see, it was God that referenced Job to Satan. And this is the key in all of this, that he referred your name also. So don't ask the question of why is God doing this to me? Or why won't he just let me die? Because God has referred your name to Satan as someone who has exemplary devotion unto him, that no matter what, you will remain steadfast unto God. So God knew that he knew that Job would have difficulty and depression, and that's okay. It's okay to question God in times like this. It's hard. All that you got, you don't even got your friends. All you got is you and God. But it's okay. We understand that Job was human. Just like when we question God, when we doubt God, and when we fear God, we know that we too are human, and God recognizes that. But Job is still right there. All through all of this, it's okay. And you're still right there. You're still a believer. You're still saved. You're still alive. So let's understand that Job's situation was not something that was so light or so easy that, that we can just breeze through and get to the end to where Job was restored. No, I want you to understand his difficulties. Because if we can understand his difficulties, of how people neglected him, of how his own friends prejudged him, and how he thought that God abandoned him or that he did something wrong or did something to deserve this. He even says, one of the most amazing things is, how can he reckon to God with this situation, knowing that God is all knowing, all wise? What argument could he possibly make to get God to change his direction? After all, you're dealing with an all knowing, all present, all powerful God. Doesn't that sound familiar to your own trial? So when you think about depression, I don't know if many of you guys have ever had the experience of dealing with depression. Depression is a long night. And in many cases, it can last for a while. And people may not even know it. But that's why we have the book of Job. Job is here so that we can understand our own depression and use Job as a reference of how to get through. Let's continue to discuss Job as we talk about his prayer on next week during his depression. And let's see what's in that prayer that can help us with our own prayers in this particular time. God bless you. I love you, and I'll see you next week.